Welcome to
Welcome.
the Revolutionary Book Trap. You see, we got some Black Hammer repping going on. Got our black and red. Yo, hey, welcome everybody. Welcome. If this is your first time at the Revolutionary Book Trap, an extra welcome to you because you about to get some political education and some education that's gonna really help steal you and how you're gonna be a revolutionary, and also just introduce you to revolution. So land back, let's see who we got in the land back. Ren,
I'm
welcome.
back.
Land back, got Brian Fogel, land
I'm
back.
back, Brian.
Welcome. You got Watakame, hey, land
I'm
back.
back.
Land back. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening. We have hammers all over the world that tune into the Revolutionary Book Trap at all times of day. And so, we're just always gonna be making sure that at Black Hammer we get our public education, whether it's breakfast time, dinner time, or bedtime, right? Land back, Nadia.
I'm back,
Land,
Chief Nadia.
land back. Yes. Make sure that as you're coming in, you are not just coming in to watch for yourself, but liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Subscribe to Black Hammer TV, youtube.com/Black Hammer TV, because that's where you get all your Black Hammer content, anti-colonial 24/7.
Drop hashtag shared once you share. Share to all your groups on Facebook. There's like so many people out there waiting for all the political education. A good with some good, nice morning coffee. Some
Yes.
black coffee, no creamer.
I put creamer. I put creamer in my coffee. There's no subtext to it. It's just that black coffee just tastes kind of gross to me. But yeah, keep on sharing. Let's see. Oh, we have Chief Ire in here. Land back. We have Samsudin Diata. Hey, what's
I'm back.
good? What's good, Samsudin? Hey, land back QC. And Teray up in here, feeling jubilant and warlike today.
Yeah.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
right. The art of war is preparing us to be not just warriors, right? But to be good warriors. So we could get into that. Yes, and shout out from Nigeria. Um Mr. Run says
Dang.
only people without a soul drink black coffee.
I
Yeah.
drink my coffee black because you get the real taste. Like it's how the ancestors intended.
Intend.
No creamer, no oat milk creamer with all these fake sugars in
You know
it.
what? I be putting milk is a thing. Milk is a thing for our people, but I'll go with it. Nadia agrees that black coffee do be hitting
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
All right. Land back, Kobe. Hey, nice to see you. Good morning, Kobe. Yes. Keep on sharing, y'all. If you want this nice land back mug, you can go to shopblackhammer.org and get yourself some Black Hammer merch, which also helps fund everything that we do, right? But before we do that, let's introduce ourselves. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm back, everyone. I'm Chief G, representing the poor working class of colonized Mexico. Well, grew up working class with a lot of political aspirations. Pronouns they them. Um, yeah, excited to be here. It's my first book trap, so I'm excited to talk about my own takes on this political education with y'all.
Yes, land back, and I'm Chief Oju, representing the nations of Africa and Bodiken, which is the true indigenous name of Puerto Rico. Represent the working class with some petty boo fries and tendencies. And I use he him pronouns, and I'm the chief of agitation propaganda. And what you do with Black Hammer, G?
I do nothing. I make the biscuits for the Vanguard.
they make the biscuits for the Vanguard.
No, I'm the chief of IT under the Ministry of People's Affairs, but I also help with all Ministry of People's Affairs things.
Yes.
I'm back.
Land back, yes. Oh, yeah. No, GG be doing the work, making sure that our cyber front is protected, right?
Yep.
And so, yeah, land back, everyone. Keep on sharing, like hashtag share, we share, just like Chief G said, so that we know that you shared it. Let us know how many groups that you shared too, as well, in the comments. All right. And so, yeah, but let's get into this. This is the first episode of a brand new book, and our brand new book just happens to be
The Art of War.
The Art of War by Sun Tzu. All right. So if you are new to the book trap, you can get this book at our Black Hammer library, blackhammer.org/library. And that way you can follow along with us. This book, it's a short book, y'all. So if you ain't read, this week, that's on you. I mean, it's on you from before, but it's on you now because it's a pretty quick read. But yeah, we're reading The Art of War, especially because as we keep on moving as an organization and getting closer and closer and closer to where so many other revolutionary organizations were when they reached that point of really like taking on the enemy. uh we have to really look at our strategy, right? We have to really look at how we conduct ourselves in revolution, and how we plan for victory, right? Because victory doesn't just happen. It's something that's planned and done. So we're gonna talk about that, but before we do, we should.
Donate to Black Hammer on Cash App, blackhammer.org, or you can go to the website, blackhammer.org/donate. Anything really helps. Like all of our comrades are around the world. We're all working really hard to like feed the houseless around the world, making sure that they have all their needs met so that they can also be a part of revolution. So please go ahead and donate. Anything really helps. And yeah, drop it in the comments. Once you donate, we'll shout you out.
Yes, we'll shout you out. We because everything that again goes to Black Hammer goes to help building that strategy, right? Help building that path forward, that victory. You're contributing to your own victory when you are giving resources for revolution, right? So a lot of people be like, hey, you know what? I don't got nothing, but I'm gonna give $5 because that $5 is going to contribute to my liberation at some point, right? Someone might say, "Oh, I got $100 because you know what? I got a lot of resources, and I'm going to keep on giving a lot of resources so that liberation can be won for my people, and even if they don't come from the class, right?" And so, oh, we got $5 from QC already. Land back. We appreciate that, QC. Yeah, keep on donating, y'all, and we'll have another chance for people to donate in a second because we are about to get into our book chat trivia. And as you know, and as we always do, if you got the right answer, you give something. If you don't got the right answer, you give something more. All right. And so yeah, keep on donating. But yeah, let's get into our book chat trivia so we can get to this book. Make sure that you are ready to drop your answers in the comments.
No copying.
And no copying. We learned that a long time ago that copying can lead to failure because you're not planning for your own success. You're just copying. So plan for your success here.
All right. The art of war is governed by all of these except A, moral law, B, heaven, C, earth, D, chance, E, the commander, F, method and discipline. Drop the comments, y'all.
Yeah, drop it in the comments, y'all. What is it? What is it that the art of war is governed by? This, I believe, was in the very beginning.
Yeah.
So I hope you all remember this. This was in the very, very beginning. Let's see what we got. Oh, woo, it all came. Okay. So we got so many D's. So many D's, I can't handle it.
You can't handle that much D, huh?
This is a lot of D. I don't know. This is a lot of D today. It's early, I need to move around a little bit more and stretch and open up a bit. Let's see. Yeah, we got D from Teray, D from Amoxley. Let's see. We got D from QC, Arandano. All right. Yeah. D. I've got so many D's. Sensitive says B. All right, I see. Not it ain't too early for this Watakame because it's not too early for somebody. All right. Oh, let's see. All right. There's a lot of D's. Let's see. What's the answer? The answer is D. A. Chance, right? Yeah, the art of war ain't governed by chance, as as we're gonna see and as we saw when we read. There's nothing left to luck when it comes to art of war. That a real victory is something that you see coming. Nothing that surprises you. If it surprises you, I mean, hey, good for you. But we learned that it ain't always gonna be something like that. All right. So yeah, keep on donating and sharing. For every deed, there's probably like about maybe 15 D's. let's see who can give some $15 for all them D's. All right. But yeah, keep on sharing and keep on donating. If there is a Facebook group that you feel like this doesn't apply to, drop it in there because everybody gotta know exactly how to strategize against their enemy. Everyone got enemies, especially as colonized people.
Yep.
We all have the same enemy of colonialism. So drop it in that group full of colonized people. Maybe they're talking about knitting, maybe they're talking about gardening, maybe they're talking about video games, whatever they're talking about. Let them know that they got to strategize against their enemy. And so share this book trap live in there on YouTube and on Facebook. All right. But yeah, then we'll get started. But before we get started too, people should drop what in the comments if they have their own quotes. They should drop there.
Read that backs. Yeah, drop. If y'all read, which I hope y'all did, it's a really short book. Drop the quotes that you like the most, and we'll talk about it. We'll analyze it, and so that everyone can so that our people can also get your own views on this PE. So yeah, make sure to drop your read that back hashtag read that back with your page number.
Yes, yes. Put the page number. Yeah, and if you put a read that back, that's one of ours. We'll let you know, and we'll get to it. Right, we're not ignoring you. We're just it might overlap, and so just this is a shorter book, so it might be a little bit more of that going on. So still make sure you put in your read that backs. But we're gonna get started and get into our own read that backs. All right. And yes, and if you need to find the book, again, go to blackhammer.org/library and you can find the book in there for you to get your read that back. All right, so let's get into it. So I think the first one is mine. Yes, it is. It says, the art of war then is governed by 5 constant factors to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline. So, chance. The moral law causes the people to be in complete accord with their ruler, so that they will follow him regardless of their lives, undismayed by any danger. Heaven signifies night and day, cold and heat, times and seasons. Earth comprises distances, great and small, danger and security, open ground and narrow passes, the chances of life and death. The commander stands for the virtues of wisdom, sincerity, benevolence, courage, and strictness. By method and discipline are to be understood the marshaling of the army in its proper subdivisions, the graduations of rank among the officers, the maintenance of roads by which supplies may reach the army, and the control of military expenditure. Land back. We're gonna stop there because that's the next one I believe is land back. Yeah. So this was the book trap trivia question, right? And hurt someone's Captain Planet. I'm so done. That was a good one. Yes, I'm doing our track, but I'm gonna keep it together. So yeah, those five essentially guiding rules for the art of war of what they're governed by. They're really important because it grounds us in like different things. I feel like so, it grounds us in why we fight. Right, that's like the more like why we even do this. Why are we even fighting against colonialism? Right, it's because we see how our people are constantly murdered, pillaged, looted, and just destroyed for the sake of taking such taking resources, taking such few resources. Sometimes taking a lot of resources, but there's so much death for so little on their part, and so like seeing the reason that we fight, right? Um, and then we see the heaven, right, which for me I feel like is almost the not the metaphysical but the larger things that we are facing when it comes to like fighting an enemy, right? So when it comes to like time and the seasons, those are things that are almost a little bit beyond our control, right? That they are so not above us,
Right.
like above us, but they're so separate from us that they're almost the context in which we are fighting our enemy. And I see the earth as like the material, right? The earth is like the real stuff. So like what is actually there for us to use to fight. And then you have the commander, who's the person who figures out how it all happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how we use these things to defeat our enemy. And then method and discipline is then the tool by which we like achieve the victory, like the commander uses to like achieve that victory
Mm-hmm.
with everybody, right? Because it can't just be the commander, it's the
Yeah.
commander and their army.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think yeah, these are really good like governing principles for the art of war, because it's not just fight,
Mm-hmm.
destroy enemy, because there's got to be a reason people fight, and there's got to be a reason uh, that people put their lives on the line to defeat the enemy.
Yeah.
So
No.
yeah.
Exactly. And like and this, like all these factors, right? It's just like it's very clear that in the art of war and in like in revolution in general, right? You have to make so many calculations. You have to take a lot of factors into consideration, right? Like heaven and earth to me, it's really like the material conditions that you live in, like even having like the night and day, the time, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to understand like where you're at in whatever thing you're doing, like not even in the battlefield, right? But even like in planning, right? You have to understand where are your people at, where you are as the revolutionary, and make decisions accordingly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Like Therese said, heaven and earth is dialectical materialism, right? Like
Yeah.
it's understanding, analyzing your situations so that you can know how to move, and then
Yeah.
and then in order for us to move, right, we have to have that motivation, that why, the moral law,
Yeah.
and the commander must bring all those things together and like be really forward about it, right? It has to be in a very like disciplined and clear way so that
Yes.
the army can act quickly and thoroughly, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, it's because seeing that like Tori also says here, like that unity and harmony are opposites, right? Those are contradictions, right?
Hmm.
Um and so when we're seeing those contradictions, we're seeing those two sides, those two opposing forces coming together, and then making decisions based off of what we know about when those two things come together, right? And that's that dialectical materialism. That is
Hmm.
that unity opposites. Yeah, you know what that G. And I think I like one thing I like about this too is that the commander in this instance is of course enforcing discipline and like strict adherence to what we're fighting for, but there's also benevolence.
Hmm.
There's also strategy. There's the commander has to be just as multifaceted as heaven as earth,
Hmm.
right? The commander has to be reflective of those things, and Sun Tzu must have really understood that, because you can't just put like heaven, earth, and then a human,
Hmm.
right? Like that human has to be, that leader has to be just as dynamic as those, as night and day, as cold and heat, as
Hmm.
as heaven and earth. um and I think it's also interesting too, it's not heaven and hell, right? It's heaven and earth.
Hmm.
Like in terms of like unity opposites there. um it's just they have to have that balance, right? Um, and I guess sorry, Sun Tzu laying out dialectical materialism 3,000 years before Maurice Cornhole, right? And so we read in that past book chat, we read materialism and the dialectical method, right? Or is it?
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Two book chapters.
yeah, two book chapters ago, and of course this European thinks that European thinks that he's laid out what dialectical materialism was, just because he could do it outside the context of fighting contradictions and fighting an
Hmm.
enemy, but we know that you can't really explain it without truly being in it. And Sun Tzu was in it. Sun Tzu was a general. Sun Tzu was a strategist. Like they were in it. And this is again 3,000 years before Maurice Cornhole came to be.
And another thing that I kept thinking about when I read the heaven and earth thing
Mhm.
is sort of how like as an army, as a general, and just as a colonized army in general, right? You
Mhm.
have to respect those material conditions too. Like you have to respect Mother Earth and like because if you respect those conditions, then you'll know how to act on it more more honestly. I feel like because sometimes I feel like the the colonizers and stuff, like they get too caught up in their ego and their individualism that they themselves they'll make themselves lose because of that, because
Yeah.
they don't yeah, they don't have sort of that respect for the conditions that we're living under, right? For the
Hmm.
earth, for Mother Earth, and whatever she wants to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I know that, and that actually goes with what Sun Tzu says later, that the enemy pretty much hands themselves their own defeat.
exactly.
Like they hand you their own defeat because
Hmm.
they aren't living in that dialectical materialism. They aren't living
Hmm.
in those dialectics because they're not answering to the what the earth is already giving them. They're answering to
Yeah.
their own need, their own desire, their own individualism, like you're
Hmm.
saying. And so, yeah, that's why they always will lose.
Hmm.
That's why the colonizers always lose. And of course, right now we see it happening throughout history in burst, right? So we see it like in Vietnam, or we see it in Cuba, we see it in China. But what we're moving toward now, especially with Black Hammer, is the point at which it happens everywhere at the same time, because we
Hmm.
see um, just also like how Sun Tzu says, what happens when you don't completely defeat your enemy,
Hmm.
right? Like complete, like Sun Tzu is like always talks about that complete victory, the complete, uh, taking of the enemy
Hmm.
force.
Yeah, and it's
Mm,
also we're probably gonna talk about it later, but
mm,
it's just like, yeah, the enemy will give you the conditions or the chance to act,
mhm.
but we gotta act, right? And that's what we're trying to do here in Black Hammer. Right? We're trying to educate ourselves on knowing how to act and when
Yeah.
to act, right?
Mhm.
But I'm sure we'll talk about it later. I think I have a feedback about that.
Yeah, we do have a read that back from Arandono. Let's see what it says. Here, you want to read it?
Yeah, is it? I think it starts in above.
Oh, there it goes
Yeah.
up here.
All right. The general who wins a battle makes many calculations in his temple, and his temple ear the battle is fought. The general who loses a battle makes but few calculations beforehand. Thus, many calculations lead to victory, and few calculations to defeat. How much more no calculation at all? It is by attention to this point that I can foresee who is likely to win or lose. Yeah,
Yeah.
land back, full unity. That's a great read that back. Because like we said, right, you have to take those those guiding like forces, right, and calculate and be a dialectical materialist
Yeah.
in order to know how to act, right? Because you cannot just act just to act. That's anarchism, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what the white man does. They just do things because they want to do things. You got to be careful. And you got to plan things out, right? Um, but yeah, what you think about that, Rudy?
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the reason why we've always worked with plans of action, right? And that's the reason why we've always worked with meetings.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have to plan, and we see that we see the fruits of planning, and we also see the defeats that happen when you don't plan, and that's just historical fact. There's not much wiggle room when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
that because you see it materially what happens when you don't figure out what you're going to do, and that applies in college. People understand that. Poor working class college people understand that. You know what happens when the month comes at the beginning of the month comes and you didn't plan for your rent. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you know what happens uh, when it's time to, let's say, get kids to school, get the kids to school, and you realize, oh man, like if you don't plan on what time to wake up, if you don't know what you're gonna make for breakfast, if you don't know like the transportation, how you got to get there, if you don't know the route and how busy it might be, all that, right? You have to plan in order to get a victory, and that's something that, yeah, our people understand already, and we just have to apply it on a really big scale. We have to apply it
Mm-hmm.
on the scale of defeating colonialism. And of course, those plans might get really big and those plans might be really complicated, but that's where it takes really good leaders. That's where it
Mm-hmm.
takes a commander. That's where it takes a really good generals to guide that planning.
Exactly.
Yeah, it could, and without those people, which is why that's one of the main governing
Yep.
principles of the art of war
Commander.
is that commander. Without that, then of course your soldiers are lost. I really like in the introduction actually, um, the example of like the spears they handed
Mm-hmm.
up, like all the women's spears, and that they said, okay, like you're going to turn. When I say right turn, you go to the right. You want to say left turn, you go to the left.
Mm-hmm.
When I say about turn, you turn all the way around. And when the general told them right turn, and then it says that all of them laughed. And it was like giggles, like, "Oh, this is weird. This is funny." They don't weren't used to it or something. And at that point, the general is saying, if they do not listen to your command, it's not the fault of them; it's the fault of the general.
Hmm.
At least the first time. and and that says a lot to how important leaders are when it comes to planning, and how important our leaders are when it comes to giving direction and guiding a army force.
Hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, no, that's a real good read that back, Arandano. So yeah, make sure you're still dropping your read that backs into the comments. You can again go to blackhammer.org/library, and that way you'll be able to copy and paste easily from there. Or you can find it again. This book is over 3,000 years old. There ain't no copyright. You can find this book anywhere. It is, yes, it is beyond copyright. Um, it was here before they were even like printing books. Actually, just real quick, when I was learning about the book, the book was originally transcribed on like wooden planks. It wasn't like scrolls or nothing like that. It was like foldable wooden, uh, yeah, plank things that kind of rolled up, but it was like really official and really on. Um, like etched was even like
Dang.
and so
Collins people are brilliant.
I know we amazing. Imagine this transcribing this whole book etched into rollable wood. Who else does do that besides colonized people? All right, well, y'all, make sure y'all again still liking, commenting, sharing, and keep on with them read that backs in the comments. But yeah, right now we could go to your
Yeah.
read that back. All right, I think your read that back was right after mine.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
All right. Therefore, in your deliberations, when seeking to determine the military conditions, let them be made on the basis of comparison in this wise. Number one, which of the two sovereigns is imbued with a moral law? Number two, which of the two generals has the most ability? Number three, with whom lie the advantages derived from heaven and earth? Number four, on which side is discipline most rigorously enforced? Number five, which army is stronger? Number six, on which side are officers and men more highly trained? Number seven, which army is there the greater constancy both in reward and punishment? Land back. Yeah, to me, this read the back is it's kind of like a formula, like a recipe um on like doing a check on yourself on whether or not you're winning or if you're gonna win, right? It tells you like how to know where at what point you're gonna win, right? And here at Black Hammer, right, we like we practice a lot of those principles here, right? Like the first principle, it says essentially that we have to be united with a purpose, right? Like everyone needs to be fully united. Like if the army is completely in understanding in the moral law or principles of unity, right? Um, you can move forward. Then the third one, right? Where it says which army has the benefits of the heaven and earth, right?
Yeah.
That's like who is the dialectical materialist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you being dialectical materialist? Are you adapting to your material conditions like our ancestors have for centuries, right? Like, are you being one with Mother Earth, taking advantage of that? Um, and then the fourth one, right? It says that we have to be essentially united with each other, right? There has to be discipline in the actions that we take. We have to all be going towards the same goal all the time, right? And then the last one, I think was the seventh one, it basically says which army practices criticism better.
Yes,
It
that is what
essentially
it
like,
says.
yeah, like whether it's like who gives the best salute to, and who is they're criticizing the mistakes so you can correct them, right?
Yes,
It's again laying out like being dialectical materialist in war, you know.
yes. Actually, and I didn't think of the reward and punishment in that way as criticism, self criticism, and that's exactly what it is. You're so right, G. Because yes, look at Sun Tzu not only having dialectical materialism 3,000 years before, but having criticism and self
Yeah.
criticism 3,000 years before everybody else. Yes, it's seeing which side is better at figuring out how they failed and how they succeeded, and rewarding and punishing the
Hmm.
soldiers as fit. and then really seeing, yeah, who is better able to use the materials and contradictions before them to, you know, to really defeat the enemy.
Mhm.
Because you could have, you like, for instance, you think of the Long March with Mao, right? And you had a, a point in which the group split, and one group decided either to go through like the bog, right, to go through the bogs, or to not, or go through the mountain pass and through it or above it. And you have the same contradiction before. You have to get across the mountain. But then if you have a leader who understands, criticism, self-criticism, and say, oh yeah, I was critical when we tried to go through a mountain before and it took us too long, and a lot of the men died. Or if you have a leader who understands that if we go through the bog, we don't have the materials or equipment to give us enough energy to do so, things like that, right? That in that long march, basically, you had two different leaders who one was better at doing those things, seeing the contradictions of heaven and earth, seeing the self criticism and criticism, and one led the people through, and lots of more of them lived, and the other ones went through the mountain pass. A lot more of them died, right? And so, yeah, that's a great breakdown, because that's exactly what it is. It's seeing who is better at who's better at learning from the
Yeah,
mistakes and
yeah,
learning from the contradictions before them.
yeah. And it's I think again it's like to me it all kind of comes back to individualism, right? Like
Mhm.
the general, the army that is like willing to be like objective about things and like objective about conditions, and not just be all wrapped up in your own ego and be like, no, this is the way that we have to do this. This is what, like, that will first of all, like, disunite your army. It'll people will lose sight of the goal of the moral law. People will uh yeah, no, like it just kind of leads to anarchy just because of that like individualist decision. You have to be honest and like and objective about what you're doing, right? Like you said with like Mao and other revolutionaries have been, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, and the other part that I forgot to talk about is that in that list as well, it mentions like being trained, being like having abilities and everything, and that's essentially what we're doing right now, like through political education and also just like physically training like yourself, right? Like
Yes. Mhm.
it's also really important, right? That not only you're gonna know how to analyze like a condition, right, but also being prepared to act on it correctly, right?
Yes.
So it's important to also be politically educated, reading these kinds of books, being, this show is political education, and also, working out. Our defense office does that too. We always push for our health as well.
I'm
They
in
know that 'cause-
pain. No, yeah, no. Chief G here is real serious about it, and like helps us in our chapter really stay on it. And it's been good. It's been really good because, yeah, again, it's you're understanding that you yourself are a material force that has to be used in some way, right? It's not just your mind. It's not just what you can strategize for other people, but what you use your own body for as well. And so, yes, I unite with that, Chief G. And yeah, and Chief G really keeps us going. I learned new kinds of stretches and new words for certain exercises. And but things I feel great and I feel better than ever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, uh, like that's something that Black Hammer understands, and that we always show our comrades, is that it's not just about the political education, but it's about your body too.
Yeah.
And so, we have a bunch of past workouts on our Hammer Defenders YouTube, so you should, go check those out. But more importantly, you should join Black Hammer, and by joining Black Hammer, you get to see all this in practice, right? You get to see how not only are we using strategy and planning to win and get victory, but also bettering our minds through criticism, self-criticism, and bettering our bodies through uh, through strength training and all that, right? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, you should join. Land back, yeah. Walter Conway over here says 6 a.m. workouts feel good. They feel even better because
Exactly.
we know it's so that we can serve the people better. Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I want to know what other organization got all their members waking up, nice and early for a workout. I doubt
Yeah.
I doubt many.
but
I doubt it.
yeah, exactly. And it's again, what working out at 6 a.m. because you know that it's gonna be for the people. It's again since we're saying right, like keeping that moral law in mind. Keeping what your objectives are, our principles of unity, right?
Mhm.
That we want to be able to serve the people better.
Yes.
Um, that we want to be soldiers for the people.
Yes. Yeah.
Buff brains.
Buff brains. Hashtag buff brains in the comments. Hashtag buff brains. I want to see it. Yes. Our brains are buff and our bodies are buff. Yo. Yes. Went back. We gotta read that back in the comments from Yabe. It's a short one, but they got their own explanation. It's according as circumstances are favorable, one should modify one's plans. Got that right. And Yabe says, I appreciate this because it's saying don't be a bureaucrat, be flexible. And they also say reality is complex, and so we must adjust to what is physically there and happens in the moment and step by step. Right? That's dialectical materialism
Yeah.
again, right? You're seeing your circumstances, you're seeing what's around you, and then modifying what you're doing according to them circumstances. Because if you don't, you're gonna be trying to, you're gonna be fixing a problem that ain't there. And a lot of times that's what bureaucracy does. We start trying to fix problems that aren't there, or create more problems and trying to fix a problem. So because we're not addressing what's actually in front of us, you can't be like filling out. When you go to like the city hall, you're trying to get a paper. You know how you go and you ask one question, but then you have to answer 10 more questions to get the answer to your one question. It's stuff like that where they could just tell you something up front, but you got to do so much more to get to it. And Sun Tzu says for victory, we want an easy victory. Like Sun Tzu is not saying like storm the city and besiege the walls and make the victory hard. No, just like Mao says, just like Sun Tzu says, easy victory is possible. If we don't gotta fight, then let's not fight, because no one's trying to fight. But if it comes down to it, then you do. But yeah, of course, we want as easy victory as possible. We want as little contradictions to victory as possible, and so we have to be flexible. We can't be bureaucratic. We can't just do things for the sake of doing them, because not only is bureaucratic, but it also can waste resources. It can waste lives. It can waste lives. It can pull the people further away from you, right? And so I'm trying to fight because we know we got to, right? We know we got to, but as long as we can't create more contradictions along the way to that victory, because there's already a giant contradiction in front of us of colonialism. So of course that creates even more contradictions, but we ain't gonna add to it just by acting carelessly and recklessly in a way that doesn't that is not responsive to our material conditions. And Watakami says there's a lot of ways to fight. Yes, there is a lot of ways to fight. And Watakami also says we don't believe in mechanical materialism. We have to be dialectical and see the whole situation.
Exactly. It's again like the other reader back that Arandano had up, right? Like you have to make many calculations at all times. You cannot like get to a point where like, oh, I'm good. I think CAC once said that if you think in this line of work, if you get comfortable and you think you're good, then you're fooling yourself. Yeah, you always have to be analyzing and changing the ways that you act so you can truly address a contradiction, so you can truly address a problem and colonialism at the end, right?
Exactly. Yeah, because even within the span of a month, how much do things change? How much do material conditions change for our people? How much we have to respond to? The enemy's constantly moving, constantly moving to further colonialism, right? And if we aren't moving with the punches, and not just moving with the punches, but being ahead of the punches and planning so that, just like Sun Tzu says, we see our victory. Exactly. That was one thing that I really like that Sun Tzu said. We have to see our victory. We just can't happen upon it. And what was the phrase? To see victory with the common herd, right? You can't just be with the people and just be victory. You see it right there. No, we have to be so ahead that we know victory is coming, so that we can bring the people toward victory rather than just chancing upon it, right? There's no chance when it comes to art of war, right? Yeah,
Land back.
land back. Make sure you're still dropping your revat backs in the comments, all right? If it's just one line, you can drop the one line just like Yabe did. A lot of the revat backs in the Art of War will be one line, so you could just say, chapter, two, number 13 or something like that. All right. Um, but yeah, keep on dropping your read that backs so that we can talk about how Sun Tzu is truly, truly laying out how we defeat our enemies. And we got a lot of enemy to defeat. In the meantime, I'll go to the next read that back from us. Right? Land back. So this one is mine, yes. It says, thus, the highest form of generalship is to balk the enemy's plans. The next best is to prevent the junction of the enemy's forces. The next in order is to attack the enemy's army in the field. And the worst policy of all is to besiege walled cities. The rule is not to besiege walled cities if it can possibly be avoided. The preparation of mantlets, movable shelters, and various implements of war will take up 3 whole months, and the piling up of mounds over against the walls will take 3 months more. The general, unable to control his irritation, will launch his men to the assault like swarming ants, with the result that 1/3 of his men are slain, while the town still remains untaken. Such are the disastrous effects of a siege. Land back.
Okay.
I like this one mostly because it speaks against impulsiveness, right? And really reiterates the importance of planning. But at the same time, it lets us know that our uh, that our ability to win is not, let's say, just based on how hard we come at the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, we come at the problem with hard work, but we strategically come at the problem with hard work.
Mm-hmm.
We don't just throw all of our resources to just destroy immediately. There's our enemy has to be our enemy has to be weakened before we do that. And that weakening is something that is talked about in War of the Flea, for instance, right? War of the Flea says that the enemy has to be slowly drained. So like let's say like a dog, and the fleas are there, slowly bleeding the dog out, or slowly bleeding the animal out, and that it becomes so weak. Then you can finally do that final blow. And so Sun Tzu saying the same thing. Yeah. Same thing. Uh, the European who wrote War of the Flea, it wasn't nothing new. It wasn't nothing new. Yes, you have to divide your enemy. You have to weaken your enemy, whether it's by dividing it, whether it's by distracting it, whether it's by making it think that you're weak yourself, right? And that makes them put their guard down. That's what we have to do in order to defeat our enemy. Just can't come at it full throttle. Of course, we come at our strategy with full throttle. We do all the hard work we need for our strategy, but we don't just throw all our resources and all our people just to say go get them from the beginning, because our enemy at the moment is has some power, has some resources, and so we have to really understand how to defeat them.
Yeah, Lambeck. I think I think Sun Tzu also said that all warfare is based on deception, right? On like
Yes.
kind of like tricking your enemy, right? And I think with relating it to War of the Flea as well, and how the revolutionaries have done in the past, is like you use guerrilla warfare to weaken your enemy, because you know what the enemy is gonna do afterward. You know that the enemy is gonna, after all that after you weaken them so much, that they're not gonna have anything left, and that like all the people are gonna be on your side, and that's how you're gonna know this is the moment, right? Like it's a part of like Sun Tzu was also saying that you have to know what your enemy is gonna do, right? And you can do that by you can do things little by little, right, to make your enemy do what you want.
Yes.
And that's how you're gonna predict things, right? That you're not just gonna predict things out of nowhere. You have to kind of like guide your enemy to do what you wanted to do, so that so that you can know how to act afterwards, right?
Exactly.
And that's what revolutionaries have done throughout, like in Vietnam and China, everywhere.
That last part is exactly, I think, what people miss a lot of times when they're seeing revolutionaries of today, who are actually doing the thing, like Black Hammer, right?
Mhm.
Is that again guiding your enemy into doing what you want it to do.
Mhm.
And I what Teray says here, like that whole, yeah, it is a good chess lesson, right? To not just besiege the wall and then just and use deception and use strategy to divide and weaken and move your enemy in the way that they think they're moving based off their own decisions, right?
Mhm.
And when they're not. And it's a fun. I mean, it's fun. I love doing that shit. I love doing that. Oh my god, that's how much I love it. I cuss, because it's just our enemy does it to our people so much,
Mhm.
and like and it just puts in me like this anger that again I can't use as an irritation to say go and get them, but it puts me in this anger that makes me want to strategize against my enemy. It gives me an anger that makes me want to divide my enemy and confuse my enemy and deceive my enemy into thinking that uh yeah I'm just you know meek or something like that. I
Mhm.
don't know. It's just you always have to uh show your enemy that surprise, I got you. Know, I want to cuss again like surprise, but that's what you got to show your enemy because
Mhm.
they always think that they got it. They always think that they're winning. And they're not always winning. They're always losing. Just because, like Sun Tzu said, they've handed us their defeat,
Exactly.
and they don't even see it. They don't even know it. And I think, and I love that. I love how historical and factual that is,
Yep.
and I live in that fact. I live in that because it makes me know that victory is like so imminent.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it'll happen because it's a balance of like the enemy doing things to themselves, right? That like the crisis of imperialism is like making like the colony like go down on its own,
Mhm.
and then but there's also a part that we have to do, right? We have to do things to get it to that point, that nice sweet spot where we can like you know
Mhm.
win.
Yeah. That
um,
nice sweet spot where you. um, sorry, I'm going off the book trap trivia earlier.
Ram back.
Live back. G hates it with me. I'll do that. Make sure you're dropping your read that backs in the comments. Still, we want to see what other gems y'all pulled out of the art of war. Because we have a bunch more, but we want to hear what you're thinking. So make sure you're liking, sharing, and then in the meantime, also make sure you're donating to Cash App or Venmo, Black Hammer Org, so that we can get the resources to defeat, deceive, and claim victory over our enemy. All right. So yeah, make sure you're still donating. But uh, in the meantime, we could go to one of your read that backs too.
Yeah.
And we can see exactly what more Sun Tzu has to teach us. All right. So let's do it.
Hence the saying, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Lambert, when I read this, I merely thought that colonized people, we know the enemy, right? We've been under the rule of white power for centuries now, and we know our enemy really well. We know what they're gonna do. We know the types of things that they do. But the only thing missing is reminding ourselves of who we are.
Yeah.
Reminding ourselves of our power, our leadership, so that we can go to that battle, right? Because we know the enemy. So all it really takes at this point is knowing who we are and our power. And
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to do here in Black Hammer, right? Um, we're trying to get our people be educated and be reminded of themselves that they have the power, that they have the leadership to win, essentially.
Yeah, that's true. I think a lot of times people think they're going to defeat their enemy just by knowing their enemy only.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's where a lot of organizations and groups find themselves in
Hmm.
is that they're so good at labeling their enemy then and coming up with a vocabulary to name their enemy
Hmm.
that they live in that and they stay in that and they don't move forward
Mhm.
because they only know them. And at this point, our people, we know our enemy, right? We of course we can name it colonialism
Mhm.
and put in that context for the people, but they know the enemy is their landlord. They know the enemy is their boss. You know that the enemy is the pigs. They know the people who are constantly working against them.
Mhm.
But it's about showing the people that they are the leaders who can claim victory and defeat those enemies.
Mhm.
And so knowing who we are as well as our enemy, just like Sun Tzu says,
Mhm.
is going to have us win 100 battles.
Mhm.
We're going to constantly have victory if we do know both of those things. And knowing who we are is something that we do through political education. So we learn who we are through seeing who our ancestors were, who our revolutionary
Mhm.
ancestors were, and who our revolutionaries are now. So we learn that through political education. We also learn that through doing the work.
Exactly.
And doing the work, you realize, wow, I can do this. You do doing the work, you realize, wow, I can lead this. Through doing the work, you realize this is for me. This was meant for me to do. And it's beautiful to see our people come into that, and to come into that leadership, and to come
Mhm.
into that conviction of of being a true, I mean, revolutionary.
Yeah.
There's no other way to name it. You
Yeah.
just to see your people realize that they are going to change the world completely and change it completely how it works for history, for the rest of history, is something that all our people deserve to feel,
Yeah.
and all the people deserve to act upon. And so, yes, yeah, full unity with Sun Tzu and with what you said.
Yeah.
Uh,
Love it.
that we have to know our enemy, but also know ourselves, and that knowing ourselves is really the bigger step.
Mhm.
Knowing who we are, as a force, as Black Hammer.
Exactly.
Hmm. Yeah, full unity with that. And so yeah, again, keep on dropping your be that backs in the comments, y'all. Uh, but in the meantime, we could still be talking about a couple of more be that backs. Um, I know one. I don't know what the page number it's on, but there's one where he says only one acquainted with the evils of war can understand how to carry it on. Um, and that line reminded me of our fourth principle, unity.
Mhm.
So our fourth principle, unity, states, uh, that essentially the colonized proletariat is the only true proletariat. So poor working class colonized people are the only true poor working class people, the only
Mhm.
true people who are having things, resources taken from them, and are the only people producing things right at the same time. And that they are the true leadership, that they are the real leadership that will lead us through revolution and lead us to victory, lead us to a new kind of humanity.
Mhm.
And this that line from Sun Tzu that only one acquainted with the evils of war can understand how to carry it on. It reflects that fourth
Yeah.
principle, right? That fourth principle that really says that only people who understand it uh, can truly take us through it, can
Yeah.
truly lead us into that battle. And of course, it's not to say that not everyone else can go into the battle, but the people who lead that battle are the people who really understand uh, that war, because they've already been through war. A lot of times, what petty blue colonized people haven't been through war, a certain way, right? They haven't had, of course, they are colonized, but they haven't had war declared on them by uh, by the pigs, right? They haven't had war declared on them by the educational system, the um, the welfare office.
Yeah.
They
The
haven't,
landlords,
the
even. You know what I mean?
landlords,
Like even
right?
people
Exactly.
from the
Yeah.
houses.
When you don't experience that battle every day, like how can you truly see the path forward in a war to defeat the
Mhm.
enemy that brings those contradictions? And so yeah, that line from Suzu really reminds me of that fourth
Yeah. No. And,
principle.
and it's because like the poor working class colonized people again. They like we said, well, they know the enemy because
Mhm.
they, dang, like they live it every day. They have to live through the consequences of the enemy every day, and like yeah, like pretty rude people and stuff. Like they lose sight of who that enemy is. They think there's no enemy sometimes.
Yeah.
So like once you like, if you want to commit class suicide and like really deep yourself into the struggle and like seeing again the enemy and seeing the struggles that our people face, and falling under their leadership so that they can guide you to like knowing what the enemy is, and how to return it, then you can participate, right? uh,
Yes.
but no, I really like that line.
Hmm. I want to share what the comments comment here is that colonized people of the class are natural leaders. We see that when we're out serving various tent cities all around the world. It's our job as revolutionaries to bring the discipline for real change. Yeah, so so that leadership is there, right? And we know that because our people are faced with the war of colonialism all the time.
Mhm.
Uh, is taking that ability, that skill and talent that's already there, and organizing it into a disciplined formation. And that's that strong army that Sun Tzu talks about. That's that army with a strength of discipline. That was part of your review that back, right? Like which side is stronger? Which side is more disciplined? Which side knows better? Reward and punishment, criticism, self criticism. It's organizing our people into that formation that is the best of those things.
Mhm.
Because our people are already the best, that's no question. But how do we make them the best warriors against colonialism?
Exactly.
And it takes organization to do that, and it takes a vanguard to do that. That's what Black Hammer's been doing as we are working with our houseless people all around the world. Just like what the comment says here, it's not a matter of just telling people, yeah, you can do it. You have to bring them into it, and that is the lesson. That's the lesson that you learn through the work. Right?
I think Moxie has a read the back.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm mostly this is on page 15. You want to go ahead and read?
Yep. The general who is skilled in defense hides in the most secret recesses of the earth. He who is skilled in attack flashes forth from the topmost heights of heaven. Thus, on the one hand, we have ability to protect ourselves. On the other, a victory that is complete. I'm back, full unity, and it's kind of, I think it ties back to, being like a dialectical materialist, and knowing when victory is going to happen. No? Like, because when you again do all these things like war the fleet, guerrilla warfare, to weaken your enemy to the point where you know when they're going to be the weakest, then you come from the top, right? You come right at it. But in the meantime, right, you have to be smart about it and defend yourself and defend your people and defend those leaders that will get us to that final strike, right? So I know full unity with this beat that back mostly.
Yes, yeah, unity as well, and with what you laid out, that we had to, yeah, when we have that victory in front of us, that if we um, are really skilled in attack, then we're gonna right um, from the it's like dropping something really heavy from really high up, right? And that like that assures a complete victory. There's no doubt that something that comes from that height is going to smash and destroy whatever it hits down below on the earth, right? And that's a level that you work toward. That's a strength you build up. It's not something that you just are born with, and not something that just naturally comes from organizing a group of people together. But that's something that Black Hammer is building toward and has shown examples of already. And yeah, yeah, full unity with that. Full unity with that. Yeah, slaying back. So, no more read that back from the people. That's all right. That's all right. Uh we can chill for that for now, and make sure that you are again liking, sharing. I keep saying sharing because I want to say commenting at the same time. It's a combo word. Or sharing. Keep sharing. That's sharing and commenting.
Donating.
And donating. uh, to Black Hammer Org on Cash App. All right, Black Hammer Org on Cash App. And so we can for now get into our announcements, because you know what, we always have things going on Black Hammer, and we want you to know about them. All right, so let's get into our announcements. So we are going to have on Tuesday the Revolutionary Church, as always, at Atlanta Revolutionary Church. I wish I wish you saw it in person. You would have loved
I
it.
know.
Yeah, the Revolutionary Church has been um, going strong this whole time in Atlanta, and as it continues, as we get into December, you'll see our Atlanta Hammers, not just again serving the people, but politically educating the people and bringing them to be that organized, disciplined force that will defeat enemies in 100 battles, like Sun Tzu said.
Yep.
We're preparing our people for that the realization of that Sun Tzu day. All right, so so make sure you tune in. You can see all the past revolutionary churches on our YouTube page at youtube.com/BlackHammerTV. So you can see that process, see that journey of our people achieving so much.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, and then we also
We still have to call to drop the charges on our hammers that were unjustly arrested at a revolutionary church after they were just like making sure that people got PE, that they were reading uh, the Bible with them and analyzing and knowing how to use it for revolution. So you have to call and drop the charges to the Atlanta City Solicitor 404-658-6618.
yes.
We have to all be organized, make sure that we're protecting our hammers, right? Our leadership, right?
Yes, exactly. And the number you call, you could do extension 5, and that'll bring
Mm.
you right to the office phone. And yes, these charges are, besides being bogus, are clearly an attack on people organizing the people.
Yeah.
Because, like G just said, all that was happening was reading the Bible, giving out some free clothes to keep houseless people warm, and that means arresting people. That's because the enemy is attacking the ability for us to organize. All right, and again, that's because we're showing the enemy our strength. And
Mm-hmm.
Sun Tzu says, showing your strength is going to make the enemy come out,
Yep.
and so that's what happens. And so we need to call and drop these charges. All right, so call, leave messages today, leave messages, and talk to the people on the phone tomorrow.
I'm back.
And then next week's reading. This is a quick book, y'all. So just keep in mind that this might fly by because it's not too many words, but there's a lot of juicy content.
Mhm.
We're gonna be reading chapters 5 through 8 or sections 5 through 8. And so again, you can find the book at blackhammer.org/library. Go to blackhammer.org/library and get that PDF, read through it, highlight your read that backs, copy paste it, put that in your phone so that it's saved for next time, okay? Because that way you don't have to worry about when it comes to the time for the book chap and trying to get it together. You can have that read that back ready. And if you are a Black Hammer member, we can be dropping the read that backs up in the chats and everything. Send it to a comrade. Talk to it about a comrade. Read with your comrades.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Like Sun Tzu said, like it's all about being prepared and trained and educated about how to win, right? And that's what we're trying to do. So make sure to read.
Yes.
Real easy.
Yes. So yes, I'm excited to keep on doing this and learning about this book with you. I read it once before, but you really have to read this book and most books about 10 times
Yeah.
to really understand what's going on. Oh, and even though this book is shorter and might be quicker to read, we don't want to say read through it quickly because we want to make sure our people understand. So if we gotta read it with y'all, we'll read it with y'all. We'll do what we gotta do. But yes, no, thank y'all. Make sure you join Black Hammer at blackhammer.org/join. And we'll see you all next time. We're gonna give a big land back.
Yep.
On 1, 2, 3. All right.
Land back.
Land back, y'all.